Hi, we're back with another episode of Syrio's training, and in this episode we will be going over action windows.
Key phase of the game, and it's pretty much where the game is played, so we have several examples for you. Unlike the other phases, the challenge phase begins and immediately has an action window. After all players have passed the action window, the active player, starting with the first player, gets to choose whether or not they would like to initiate a challenge.
Once the active player chooses to initiate a challenge, a few things happen simultaneously. The active player decides which characters they're going to be using as attackers and kneeling them if necessary. Also, they will be declaring stealth if any of their attackers have the keyword. And they will also be announcing what type of challenge it is, whether it's a military, intrigue, or power challenge.
As an aside, we suggest stating the type of challenge and the total strength available just to keep the board state clear. There is then an action window for any actions. This includes ambush, anything that has the bold word action in front of it, or anything that has the bold words challenge actions are now available to happen. Once the action window is passed by both players, the defending player is now allowed to declare their defending characters. Just like the attacking player, they are knelt and declared at the exact same time.
Once defenders are declared, there is a second action window. Now remember, when ambushing characters in during this action window, they cannot be added to the challenge unless a card specifically states that they can.
Then we proceed to the acronym DUCK. First is D for determine winner. We compare the strength of the attacker and the defenders to determine who has the greatest strength. Once the strength is determined, this number is essentially locked in for the conclusion of the challenge. Then we do any reactions that we may have to winning or losing.
We now move on to the second letter of DUCK, which is U, for unopposed. This is pretty simple if the defending player has chosen not to declare any defenders, or if they have and the strength has been reduced to 0. That challenge is considered unopposed and the attacking player receives a power for winning that challenge.
Unless the attacker also has 0 strength. If the attacker has 0 strength, they do not technically win the challenge and they do not collect unopposed.
Any reactions to winning an unopposed challenge will then trigger now.
Up next is C for claim. Claim can be a lot of different things. If for a military challenge, it's a character being killed. For intrigue, it's removing a random card from the losing player's hands. For power, it's moving a power from the losing player's house card to the winning player's house card. This only happens if the attacking player wins. If the defender wins, then nothing happens in claim. There is also the opportunity for a lot of replacement effects.
During the step in which claim resolves, there also is the chance for replacement effects to trigger, such as Sea Stone Chair or Mirimaz Dur. Remember that if there are multiple replacement effects on the board, the last replacement effect that is triggered is the one that will go through.
And the last part is K for keywords, so any keywords such as pillage, renown, or intimidate will happen now. The winning player gets to choose what order these happen in, and just so you know, intimidate only happens if you are the attacking player. Remember that during DUCK, there is no opportunity for players to initiate any actions. They may only initiate force reactions, and interrupts.
Remember, there is another action window before the next challenge is initiated.
Remember that when the last player chooses to end their challenges, there is not another action window. There is an action window before that, and not one that concludes the phase.
We now have a few examples to show you to try and clarify the most complicated part of the round.
As our first example, I would like to specifically mention that one of the things that I've had happen a few times is some people didn't realize that having a knelt character meant that I could still trigger my action. In this particular situation, Cesar could trigger Handmaiden to stand Danny even though she is currently knelt, because her cost is to sacrifice herself, has nothing to do with being knelt.
In this scenario, I have Daenerys Targaryen and Rhaegal. The reason that this is important is because Daenerys Targaryen gives -1 strength to characters participating on an opponent's side in a challenge against me. Also, Rhaegal stands Dany after she wins a challenge. I also have 1 gold on the board. The reason that this is very important to note is because the 1 gold gives me the possibility to play a Jacaerys out of my hand, and Daenerys Targaryen will drop Randall Tarly down to 4 strength, making Randall a killable target, given that if Lauren declares Randall, he will automatically get -1 strength.
On my side of the board, I have Randall Tarley and Marjorie. As many people will know, Marjorie can kneel to pump up Randall's strength by 3, and Randall will react to the increased strength and stand. In this example, I'm going to go first. I'm going to declare a military challenge with Randall.
The big thing to realize is that as soon as Randall is knelt, Danny's passive ability gives him -1 strength, bringing him down to 4.
As the first player, I get the first action after attackers are declared. I will take my action to keep Randall safe to immediately kneel Marjorie, choose Randall to pump, and use his reaction to stand him back up. Due to Randall's printed 5 strength, the -1 strength from Daenerys while participating, and the +3 strength from Marjorie, he now is doing a 7th strength attack.
In this instance, I could go ahead and spend my 1 gold and use my action to play Dracarys while kneeling Rhaegal as part of the cost, but all that really does is subtract 4 strength from Randall's 7, and it doesn't win me the challenge.
In this scenario, by going first, I successfully was able to evade Caesar's Dracarys.
In this example, I am going to be first player. I have chosen to do no challenges against Lauren and pass off to her.
So now that I am the attacker and second player, I'm going to do the same thing and do an attack with Randall. I now immediately get -1 strength from Daenerys and am at 4 strength.
Given that I am first player, I now have priority when it comes to action windows. As soon as my action window opens, I spend my 1 gold and kneel my dragon character to blade Dracarys on Randall. With Danny giving Randall -1 strength, he's now a killable target for Dracarys.
So seeing this situation, I could have seen that between Daenerys, the 1 gold, and the standing dragon, that this was a possibility. But I was being perhaps a little greedy and wanted to use Marjorie so that I could stand him back up. That backfired on me. If I wanted to make sure that I was out of range of Dracarys this round, as second player, I would have needed to pump Randall while he was still standing and not in the challenge yet, because that 3 strength lasts until the end of the phase.
In this situation, I have Tywin Lannister out and Lauren has Arya Martell out. I am first player, and she has 1 card in her hand. Given that it is my turn, I am going to choose to do a 6 strength intrigue challenge with Tywin.
I would like to oppose this challenge because I know that he would get my 1 card that's in my hand, which I know is important to me, and he would get unopposed and renowned from winning this as well. So I would like to oppose this challenge. When it's time to declare defenders, I will declare Arya. However, because the card in my hand is so important, and it happens to also be a character, I would like to trigger Ariane's ability to put a character with printed cost 5 or lower into play, and to return Ariane to my hand. This does a couple things. Caesar either way was winning this challenge because I did not have enough to beat his 6 strength. By removing Ariane from the challenge in the action window before determining winner, by removing Ariane during an action window, which was after the declaring of defenders, and before determining the winner, when we go to determine winner, Caesar has 6 strength and I have 0. I decided that Palace Spearman was very important. It gives me the opportunity, now that Tywin is knelt, to do a military challenge and kill Tywin with no problem. I have to lose Ariane out of my hand, but killing Tywin is much more important. However, because when Ariane was removed from the challenge during the action window between declaring defenders and determining winner, by the time we get to determining winner, there is no character participating on my side.
We're now determining winner, which is 6-0, so that will also be an unopposed challenge, which gives me a power. I then have claim, which I get to discard the Ariane out of her hand, and I then initiate keywords, which is renowned for Tywin.
Now it's my turn, and because he has no other character standing or available for claim, I will immediately do a military challenge,
which I cannot oppose.
Then we get to determine winner, which is I have 4 strength and Caesar has 0 strength. I get an unopposed power, but more importantly, claim is applied.
Tywin is my only character, so he's the only target for claim.
And then keywords initiate, but there are none that are relevant for this challenge.